Rock Talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside.
Welcome to Nonstop Rock Talk. This is your host, Tyson Bryden. Today, I welcome back for a return engagement. It's been a couple of years. Singer from Midnite City, Rob Wylde. Rob, welcome. How's it going?
How you doing, Tyson? Thanks for having me back.
It was funny. I was recollecting about, I believe it was our last interview, which was probably 3 or 4 years ago. And we did all those questions where we went through bands and we were like Brittany Fox or Cinderella, which was, I kind of laughed about that because I haven't really done that since, but that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was great.
It was.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, we had a few laughs along the way too, which was great. So, but getting down to business, you released Midnite City released yet another great album back in November, I believe, entitled Bite the Bullet. Before we discuss the material, I was thinking maybe we could go track by track. And
yeah.
But before we do that, kind of tell me about the writing and the recording of the album, possibly more or less anything that pertains to everything up to date with Midnite City.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it's been a few years since we talked. So we put an album out in 2023, which was In at the Deep End.
Yes.
Which I think it was around that time that maybe we spoke last. And we had such a busy touring schedule on the back of that album because that album did really, really well for us. And we went literally all over the place. I mean, we toured the UK a couple of times. We did the Monsters of Rock cruise in America. Went to Brazil.
Oh wow!
We went back to Japan. So we had a really, really busy time on the back of that album. So that album was pretty much kind of like a year and a half of just constantly playing and touring and stuff like that. So we got to work on. I started writing songs for Bite the Bullet. The one thing I wanted to do on this album, I didn't want to kind of rush anything. I just wanted the songs to kind of, come naturally to me, not kind of push or force anything and just let it, let the songs come to me sort of thing. And we eventually started work on the recording right after we got back off the Monsters of Rock cruise. So we had an incredible time out there. And then actually, we did the Monsters of Rock cruise, then we did Brazil, and we came home, and then we were straight into the recording of Bite the Bullet. So the songs were written over a kind of about maybe a year long sort of period or something like that. I do what I always do and just demoed the songs up and sent the songs to the rest of the guys, and they worked on their parts and stuff. So in terms of the actual how we actually went about, the writing and the way that we record, it's never really changed really from the first album, which is like next year is like 10 years ago.
That's crazy. So
the kind of, yeah, I can't believe that either. But it's the formula that we kind of work to always pretty much stays the same. The difference is on this album and the last album, once the album was done, we produced the album ourselves again. And like the last album, once we were done, everything was sent to Chris Laney over in Sweden, who mixed the album. So this is our second album with him now, and he's just, he's incredible. He did such a good job of mixing this album, and he just kind of made it sound the kind of brief before he got to work on the mix was, we just said we just wanted to sound as big as possible, like a massive sounding album, and I think we've managed to achieve that really on this one. I mean, it's by far like our biggest sounding album. It's just a huge sounding album, so we're very happy with it.
Yeah, I really love the album. It's really, as I said in our introduction, another great album because I love every album. I mean, this is the fifth one, and they've all been amazing.
Thank you.
And the thing I love about Midnite City is you stick to the formula of what the band is, right? It doesn't stray too much, and every time you put it on, it's what you expect. Because for me, I love your vocal. I love how you approach songs and your phrasings and how they come across. It's to my ear, that's something that I really enjoy. And then the ear candy, more or less, those choruses, those big choruses and those catchy choruses, and that's and I'm sure you know that about me because we're both fans of the 80s era. So that was kind of the thing, right? So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you bang on because, I mean, the reason you probably like it is because, it's 100% based on all the bands that we love,
right? Yeah.
And we're not one of those bands that we never try to hide that. We never try to hide the fact that we're massive fans of Danger and Warrant and Poison and Bon Jovi when they were cool, and you name a band from Trickster, whoever, from back in those days, and we kind of almost like wear our hearts on our sleeves, as in, there's no denying where our influences come from, and we do what we love. But yeah, I mean, it's you bang on with what you just said, really. I mean, it's I'm glad you like it as much as we do, but we don't try and change things too much. Some bands do. Some bands like to, when they do a new album, they might think, okay, well, we're going to do something completely different. But I don't really see the point in doing that. I think the only two reasons you do that is if, one, you genuinely were bored with the style of music you were playing, or two, if you've had an album or two that have just done really badly, so right. You think, okay, I'm going to have to do something else, but neither of those things have happened for us. So we do what we do best, and I think with every album we do add some extra sort of ingredients. Yep. The core of the sound always remains the same, but every time there is something, we do throw in some extra kind of new ingredients with each album at the same time, but for the most part, the actual core of what we do remains, what we love and what our fans love, more importantly.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when we went from the 80s into the 90s, bands changed because they were still under these corporations. So the 90s hit, and then some of the bands got a little bit heavier, and because I think they didn't know where they fit in, because they were trying to keep their fan base and establish themselves as, and they became a little bit more serious, right? So that's where the sway in a lot of music. Then it's funny that we're talking about that, because I just started listening. I've always known about the band Thunder, but they're not big in North America. I know over there they were a big band. So I've gone back this week and started going through their catalog and listening to everything. And it's funny, their third album, which the name of it escapes me, but you can tell it's 1995 because they got heavier. They put the opening track starts with this guitar harmonizer, and it sounds it still sounds like them, but they've got this like heavier vibe, right? So it's good that we're in the era we're in now, because bands can just kind of be who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely, and you just do what you want to do. Nobody's telling you, and there's no real big trends. No, really, which again is kind of like, I suppose it's one of the plus points of the music industry today. There's no fads like there were back in the day. It's just kind of everyone just does what they want to do, which is great.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I just got the advance of the new Black Swan album, and Rhett Beach and Jeff Pilson and Rob McCauley.
Oh, cool.
And they, same thing. They've stuck to that same formula. The 3 albums they have put out that they have done, that's what, they're on Frontiers, and I'm assuming that's probably what Frontiers expects from them. But you know, like you said, there's a few little nuances and whatnot that might change a bit, but the music still stays the same, and they retain their fan base. When Midnite City releases a new album, when there's something coming out, I want to hear it right away because I know I'm not going to be disappointed. I know what I'm getting. And that's what I want to hear. I'm not going out searching for, I mean, at my age, searching for something that's totally different. That's just not who I am, right?
And I'm the same. So I'm exactly the same, you know, and that's the same with the writing. You know, I'm not going to, you know, take a drastic left turn for no reason whatsoever, you know?
Yeah, it's not like you're going to do like a Motley Crue Generation Swine album or something like that, right? And deviate your fan base. And people are scratching their head, right? Why the hell did they do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You know, you've got your fans, and then it's okay, let's do something that all our fans will absolutely hate. You know, I never understood the logic in that at all, but there you go.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you're probably not a fan of that album. Do you like that album?
Oh no,
right?
Not at all. No, I mean, you know, I remember, you know, my favorite band of all time, Kiss. I remember Kiss doing they did a grunge album.
Oh yeah,
in '97 called Carnival of Souls, and I was like, what the hell is this? You know, this isn't Kiss.
Exactly.
You know, so no.
And they brought in Toby Wright, who was a grunge producer, right? And it made no sense because I don't think Revenge was a great album because it was a little bit heavier, but it stuck to the Kiss formula. And then they do this album, and you're like, why did they even bother?
Yeah, and it was just a complete flop. Everybody hated it, you know, because you know. It wasn't Kiss, so yeah, exactly. Very strange decision, but there we go.
And I mean, that was the times, right? It's like when Warrant did. I didn't mind Ultraphobic, but Belly to Belly, the next one was a little bit more off, right?
Yeah, Ultraphobic was all right. It was kind of like they kind of got away with it. I thought they were one of the few hair metal bands that tried to do a grunge album that kind of got away with it and actually sounded quite good doing it, but like you said, the one after that was just maybe way too much.
Yeah, and you're left going, this doesn't make any sense to me. Right?
Yeah.
as a fan of those bands, you're like, oh, I can't wait for their next album, and then you put it on and you're like, this is not good. Right? So
yeah, bad news.
Anyways, the lead-off track, Live Like You Mean It. I love this song. Classic Midnite City sound as far as I'm concerned. I've always loved how the background gang vocals sound on your albums. So this one, as you said, like it's even bigger than it was before.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And that's a perfect example. How do you achieve that? Besides the mixing, but getting that, is it how many singers are on that?
That a great question, and we've really we did a lot of gang vocals on the last album, but this album we did even more. You know, we did tons and tons of gang vocals on this album. How we achieve it is basically the four of us. Ryan didn't sing on the album, but myself, Miles, Sean, Josh. Yeah, myself, Miles, Sean, and Josh. We basically, for some reason, I was thinking I was missing a band member then, and I know if they'll watch this, they'll get really angry. But yeah, it was just the four of us. So we're in the studio, and basically, how it works is we all stand around a mic. So, and it'll be, you know, a couple of lines at a time. So, you know, the Live Like You Mean It. We'll all sing, Live Like You Mean It. We'll all sing it. Yeah. And then we'll sing it again. And then we'll sing it again. Then we'll sing it again. Then we'll sing it again. Then we'll double it all. Wow. So we'll basically double track everything. Yeah. So by the time it's done, I think there's the equivalent of about 60 voices or something like that.
Wow.
It's almost like 60 people are singing the same thing, because it's just quadrupled and quadrupled and quadrupled. And we do it, we just maybe say, for example, take the chorus, and we'll just go through the chorus, and then the engineer will be like, okay, let's do it again. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And then double it, and then do it again, do it again, do it again. And I mean, the amount of time that takes is just, you would not believe how much work went into this album, just on the gang vocals alone. And then all my lead vocals, I double track everything. So basically I sing every single line twice, put them together, so it kind of thickens up the lead vocal, which is kind of like a lot of the 80s bands did that. So I'm technically singing the album twice, because I'm singing every single line twice. And then obviously then there's all the harmonies. The harmonies are all double tracked. Josh, our bass player, comes in and does quite a lot of harmonies with me as well. So basically you've just got this massive wall of sound, and there's about, I can't remember how many guitar tracks we did, rhythm guitar tracks. Then there's obviously all the solos, and and then even once we got all the basics of everything, vocally and musically done, then Chris adds loads of like effects, like sub drops and all kinds of weird and wonderful things that are kind of going on in the background that you don't necessarily hear, but then as he was mixing, he would, if you would hear the song again without what he put in, you kind of miss it. They can be just like little percussive things or a sequencer or whatever, and it's just this massive production that takes a hell of a lot of time to get right.
Well, it shows though. I mean, it shows in the final product. Like when you're doing demos, you're not adding that much. You probably just have that. You want the idea down.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm not going to that extreme, but I do. For Live Like You Mean It, I did. There's actually to make it easy, because I'm the only one doing the demos, so I'm just in the studio doing the demos on my own. But I wanted to get the gang vocal kind of idea across. So rather than doing it, a million times, I probably maybe sang it maybe 10 times or something like that, and maybe doubled it. So it was like 20 of me rather than, the 60 or 70 voices that were on the album. But I try and get the demos are, musically are exactly the same, the structure-wise and lyrically and all the rest of it. So it's important because obviously the demos really give you the idea of how, the finished product is going to sound. So, the demos, it's not like I just go in and I spend, a good, usually when I'm writing, I usually go in the studio and do like 2 demos a day, but I do spend a bit of time on them to kind of, so, the guys in the band can hear what's going on and what kind of direction the songs are going and stuff. So
that's cool. Now, when you actually sent the album to Chris, was he like, holy cow, there's a lot of tracks here? Or would he, that was just,
Yes.
would he be like, holy shit, man?
Yeah. He was just like, what is going on? Because the one thing I haven't actually mentioned is on top of all that, the keyboards are obviously massive part.
Yeah.
And on each song, I think there's about, there's some songs where there's about 10 completely different keyboard parts, as in completely different files. There's a pad, there's this, there's that. I mean, even on like some of the heavier songs, which there's a little bit less of the keyboards. Even on those songs, there's still, so a lot of tracks. So when we send everything over to Chris, he what's really good about working with Chris now is that we're really good friends, and we can kind of joke and have a laugh about stuff, because sometimes he'll just be like, there's so much stuff. Like what just a ridiculous amount of stuff. So for him, I mean, it's one hell of a job to get everything to kind of sit right and because there's so much going on, But yeah, he's usually quite amused by how many tracks arrive in into his studio in Sweden. But we kind of learn as we go along, as in, okay, maybe we don't necessarily need that part. Maybe this part is a little bit more important than that part, and we kind of we do a little bit of that as well. But
so is he sending you mixes as he's going along?
He's no, not really. I mean, we trust him just to just go for it. Okay. Cool. Just go for it. I mean, towards the end, we get maybe a couple of mixes but once he sends those are pretty much 98% there. But for the most part, we just kind of like leave him to it, because that's what we obviously trust him to do. I mean, he knows exactly how we want to sound. He knows he has reference points of the certain albums that we like and stuff like that. So he knows how to make us sound as good as we possibly can. You know what I mean? So we just pretty much leave him to it, and off he goes, and he works his magic, and boom, there we've got the album. Yeah,
he's awesome. I mean, I remember that solo album he did. I can't remember how long. It's 10, 15 years ago, maybe. And it sounded huge. Like, it had this big Def Leppard sound to it. Like, you could tell, like, his production is, and the way he works is unreal. And that's the sound that we like, right?
Yeah, that was, I mean, the whole reason we ended up working with Chris was because I kind of made a mental note years ago about him, because I remember the album you're talking about, and he also worked on an album for Stevie James, who used to be in Tiger Tales.
Tiger Test. Did he do what was the name of that? A Private Eye? What was that album called?
My Private Hell. Yeah,
My Private Hell. That's it. Yeah,
that's it.
That's a great sounding record.
Yeah, and I heard that back in, I mean, that was like 2008, 2009, and I remember hearing it and thinking, that sounds great, and it kind of, to me, I could hear a lot of Def Leppard, but I could also hear a lot of Kiss in there as well. And I'm thinking, who's this guy that's kind of like involved with this? And then I heard his solo album, and then I think he did the Zan Clan album around the same time.
Yeah, I think so too, which was a great album.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking, this guy, when Midnite City got together, I just remember thinking, this guy would be, I just know that this guy would work well with us, and I wasn't wrong. So it was a good move.
Oh, great move. I mean, he's like one of those guys like Bruno Ravel as well, because the Danger production is always stellar. Yeah, and it's funny that Bruno doesn't do a lot of other work. I mean, the Defiant stuff is great too, but he doesn't do a lot of work with other artists, and you think because of that, because his production is so good, that people would be calling him all the time,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Bruno's the other guy. I mean, his work's incredible as well. So yeah, you would. I mean, you'd think he'd be doing loads of albums. Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's busy doing other things. I don't know.
I mean, or maybe he's just saving it for his own. I'm sure there's going to be another Defiance record soon, I would assume. I mean, the fourth one. So
yeah, I would think so.
So the next track, Worth Fighting For. And speaking of Danger, I thought that intro has that kind of Danger vibe, was what I got from it. It's a melodic gem, as far as I'm concerned. Can you tell me what is Worth Fighting For? Is this song is it like love relationship, or just everyday life period?
It's everyday life, really, and it's because I think nowadays, I think everything's so, I think life is actually quite hard work nowadays.
No kidding.
I agree, man. I don't know whether it's because I'm older, but like, I don't know. I just think the way the world is, everything moves so much faster. You know, nobody's got time to do anything. Everybody's always exhausted. You know, everything in the world just moves at a million miles an hour all the time, you know, and I think it's very easy to sort of, you know, give up on things and on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, rather than just sticking to where things are, you know, realizing when things are good, you know, and kind of holding on to what you've got, you know, whether that be a relationship, whether that be, you know, your band or your whatever it is, you know, it's kind of, you know, sometimes you just have to stop and kind of think, well, what I've got right now is really good. So, you know, whatever's thrown in our way, you know, we're going to have to find a way of working through it. And that's kind of the sort of sentiment of that song. And I really love that song as well. I think I doubt there will be a fourth single, but if there was going to be a fourth single, that would definitely have been it. But yeah, definite danger vibe on that one, that's for sure.
I love the high vocal in the verse. Did you do that? Is that you or is that the bass player? That sounds great.
Yeah. We kind of that was kind of an idea. It was kind of weird because when I was in the studio, in the second verse, I was just doing the sort of like the lower vocal, and I thought, you know what, would be really cool to kind of thicken it up a little bit if I do the octave above.
I love that.
And it kind of, we actually used that idea on another song on the album as well. I think it's Hang On Till Tomorrow. We used that in as well. So yeah, it's a cool kind of like little nuance, shall we say.
I love those things, like, you know, that you when you're listening and you're focusing and you could hear those little things. That the 80s was always classic for that stuff. I mean,
oh yeah,
right. Yeah. There's so much layering going on, so much going on. You kind of, as you're listening, you're like, you're trying to find this stuff, or you'd listen to something and you go, oh, I never noticed that before.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
And I love that stuff.
I heard a lot, you know, all that kind of stuff especially in Def Leppard, music. I mean, there's some, you know, even now you listen to it and you just hear something and think, you know what, I must have listened to this album about 1,000 times and I've never heard that tiny little thing there, you know. So
it's so cool.
Yeah,
it's funny because us talking about that. So I'm sure you know I play in a Bon Jovi tribute, and I know you do the Poison tribute. Yeah. So we had rehearsal last night, and we had to learn Legendary off the latest album. It's not, it was, I said to the guys, I was like, this song kind of sucks.
Yeah.
There's no guitar solo in it.
It wouldn't be my set list, man.
And I was like, why are we doing this? We're going to have dead air. Because the honest truth is, people listen, they love Slippery. They love Runaway. They love In and Out of Love. Anything off New Jersey, anything Keep the Faith. Of course, It's My Life. And then kind of anything after that, people don't, it's like you want people to go to the bathroom, play one of those songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I said to them today, I sent in an email and I said, you know, like, they put a song on the album with Talkbox on it. And I said, that's Richie's thing. Why, like, are you trying to sell records by putting the Talkbox back on when it's just not the same? Yeah,
it's not. You know, I was a huge Bon Jovi fan, you know, but I just cannot. And I bought their albums right up to, you know, I think the one that I gave up on them was the one with the house, my house.
Oh, this house is not for sale.
I was just like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
I think I bought every album up until that, you know, so it wasn't like I ditched them after the 80s.
No, I didn't either.
He had some great albums. Have a Nice Day album.
That was a great album.
Phenomenal. You know, I love that album. You know, a couple after that were decent, but yeah, I just kind of, after that, this house is not for sale. It's just, and the fact that the band looks more like a football team than a rock band. I don't know how many band members. It's like, where have all these band members come from? There's like eight guys in the band now or something.
I know.
9 guys.
I mean, Phil X is a great guitar player. He's great, but without Richie, for me, it's like something's lost there. You know, that amazing chemistry, right? And
he doesn't. I don't think he fits the band.
I don't either. I hate to say that.
He just looks wrong. Not anything against the guy, but I don't know. He just doesn't look right in the band, and his playing style isn't particularly. I just think he's a great guitar player, but I don't think he's the right guy for Bon Jovi, really.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. And I kind of said too, I was like, why are they like these 4-chord specials? There's no depth to any of it, to the music anymore. You're just writing pop rock songs. And it's like, okay, we're going to take out something that is older that might be a little bit more popular to put this in. And I'm like, for what? You know what I mean? But it is what it is. We get like 2 or 3 people that ask for it, and then
everybody else is like, play Bad Medicine.
That's right, exactly. Or even if we play Raise Your Hands. Yeah. You know? Or like, what's Never Say Goodbye has gone over forever so well. It's just, that's a timeless song, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Now, it's going to be all right. Maybe that's the response to what I was just talking about, but about the Bon Jovi, it's going to be all right. Again, it has like a Danger, like from the first album kind of vibe to it, like Don't Walk Away almost, that kind of thing. Tell me your mindset when writing this song. Do you sit down and consciously write a ballad? And where do you get the inspiration from that?
Yeah, a good question. I don't ever sit. It's kind of weird because when I'm writing songs, I don't. It's never like I sit down and say, today I'm going to write a song. Or even when I start writing a song, it's not like, okay, I'm going to write a rock song today, or today this is going to be a ballad. It's just whatever comes out naturally comes out, So, like Live Like You Mean It, for example, was actually I think that was the first and second song I wrote for the album, and I came up with a riff, I was like, oh, that's really cool. So, because it was, it was a little bit sleazy and a little bit kind of, it got a bit of attitude. Obviously, the lyrics are gonna, it's not going to be a love song. It's going to be more of a, have more attitude about it. But I mean, a lot of it depends on what's going on in my life as well at the time. I mean, I used to write songs, about a million horrible relationships. But I'm married now. I've been so, and we, luckily, touch wood, we don't really have any arguments or anything like that. But so what I often do is sometimes I actually kind of observe other people's relationships and which is kind of something that I started doing kind of a few years ago, and kind of looking in on other people's relationships and almost getting my head in there, almost like writing a song from their point of view, is to kind of, as an outsider looking at their situation. So I do that quite a bit now, especially for the ballad type stuff, which was one of those songs. So the actual that one started. They all start differently. Like I said, Live Like You Mean It started with the riff. Worth Fighting For was, I think I came up with like the kind of the first idea, and this one was just the chorus. I just came up with the chorus, just the melody line that is going to be all right, and thought, that's really nice. So I just kind of like ran upstairs to my studio, picked up my acoustic, kind of worked out the chords around it, and I thought, okay, yeah, this is like you said, very much in that kind of first Danger album type vibe. And again, a little bit of a Def Leppard kind of vibe as well going on there. And that just kind of took off like really easy. That was almost like a really easy song to write. I don't know how or why, but it was just kind of, and what's quite interesting with that song is, the chorus is in a major key, so it kind of like lifts and kind of goes to a kind of like a happy place, because the actual the verses are actually, so for all the music nerds out there, the verse is in A minor, and then the chorus is in D major, so it has that kind of nice feel of things lift off as they should do in the chorus, but also it switches from a minor to a major key. And yeah, and I really experimented as well on this album a little bit about what we were saying earlier about trying to add new things to the kind of the ingredients of what we do. And on this album, I really experimented a lot with key changes, which we've done a few key changes on various songs in the past, but this album's got tons of key changes. And the reason for that was that on the lead up to me and in the middle of me writing songs for this album, the one album that I was listening to over and over and over again was an album that I loved back in the day, but I hadn't listened to in years. And it's an album by Kane Roberts called Saints and Sinners.
Yes.
Which is obviously all Desmond Child co-writes, which who's
and a Bon Jovi song, right?
Yeah, right.
Which is on the demos for New Jersey.
Yeah, does anybody fall in love anymore? Yeah. So, and I mean, Desmond Child is my songwriting hero, my idol.
Yeah.
But I was listening to this album a lot, almost like I was almost a little bit obsessed with it. I just kept listening to it, and the more I listened to it, the more it's almost like I was really analyzing the songs and thinking, musically these songs are really simple, but it's just the way that they keep moving, because the key keeps changing. So even though you're not aware of it, it keeps your interest. And I did loads of key changes. So there's quite a few key changes on it. It's going to be all right. And then the next song, Heaven in This Hell, was actually 5 key changes in that song. So the actual chord progression transposes up and down 5 times in the song, which, like I said, to the average person on the street, they wouldn't really hear that. But subconsciously, it keeps you interested, because it keeps the music keeps moving in different places. So that's something that I'd never really done it to that extent before, up until this album. And so yeah, it's this bit of an interesting kind of side note for you.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. And it's funny that we talked about Kane Roberts, because my wife loves that song we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And it just came up on a playlist. Like how sometimes you get a playlist where it says songs like this.
Yeah.
Like it'll sound like this. And that Kane Roberts song came up one day, and she absolutely loves that song. So I pulled up the Bon Jovi demo on the New Jersey, and it's not as good. Like John sounds like he's struggling to sing in that key, where Kane Roberts, he really nailed it on that album. And that album has eluded me, actually. I don't have it on vinyl.
Oh man, yeah, you need to get that.
I know.
So many songs like Wild Nights and Fighter, and oh my god.
I have the first one on vinyl. I have the first one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
just gotta get that one.
I have that on vinyl, and I've had that for many years, I think. But I mean, that one's good, but he kind of, he was still doing the Rambo of rock type of thing with the cover, and, it was kind of I thought it was cool back in the day. But I know that album, the Saints and Sinners album, I had actually bought it on Discogs. I had paid for it, and the seller came back to me somewhere in Europe and said, listen, he goes, we sold it in our store. Is there something else? Is there something else I can replace it with? Here's a list of albums. And I ended up getting Bryan Adams' Waking Up the Neighbors on vinyl.
Oh, that's a good one now.
So I was like, okay, you know what? I can handle that. I'll find that Kane Roberts somewhere. So it's cool that you brought that up. So you did mention Heaven in This Hell, great title. It sounds like that one kind of sounds like a song of hope, finding something that can turn things around almost.
Yeah. That was again about kind of almost about seeing kind of the good in, because there's so much crap going on in the world at the minute.
Exactly.
And it's actually, going back to what we're saying about life being difficult nowadays, but there's so much, and I think especially the media likes kind of keeping you, almost trying to make you afraid of everything that's going on, even if things might not even be as bad as they seem. But there's so much scaremongering going on every level, know. And sometimes it is just nice to think that there is some good out there. You know what I mean? And the world isn't this horrible, nasty place. I mean, a lot. There's a lot of element of that, but at the same time, there's a lot of good. And it was actually quite funny, actually, because leading into that, when we shot the video for that, we used a church here in Nottingham, and our keyboard player, Sean, it was his job to go and, talk to the church to see if this long-haired rock band could shoot a video
awesome.
in their church. So I'm like, well, how the hell are you going to do that? And he's like, well, leave it with me. So he tied all his hair up and kind of, put hoodie on and stuff.
He sold it.
And he basically, he went in and said, well, we we just want to hire the church for like 6 hours or whatever to shoot this video. And the lady was asking him, what kind of band is it? And he was saying, well, it's kind of, like a rock band. We sound like Bon Jovi, which kind of calmed it down a little bit.
That's a smart one.
Some Norwegian black metal band or whatever. So, and then she said, oh, what's the title of the song? And he was like, well, I can't lie to her because she's going to, if she lets us use it, she's going to see the video. Yeah. And he said, well, it's called Heaven and It's Hell. And apparently she looked really alarmed at this point, as in like, whoa, what's this, what's the meaning behind that? And he just said, well, it's about, finding the good in the world, and that sold it.
That sold it.
So she was like, yeah, here's the keys, lock up after you're finished. And so the positive message of that song helped us secure the location, and then we were able to shoot a really cool looking video because of it. So
cool. I have not,
really cool.
I haven't watched those videos, and I should go back and watch those. So I've just
they're good.
Yeah, I'll check those out. Rob. I apologize. I was more focused on just listening to the album, which I haven't gotten the physical yet. It's in my cart in Amazon for the vinyl, and I mean it's just one of those things that I listen to it on a regular basis, but just haven't gotten the physical yet. But of course I will, because I how you're always like, I'm always like, what, if I'm a fan of a band, I have to support them and buy the physical, right? I don't feel right about it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I still buy, all my a favorite band of mine releasing an album, I always buy it. Yeah,
I'm the same. And I will make a note, I did finally get that Elusive Roxy Blue on vinyl.
Yeah, absolutely.
I finally got it. Good. It took me a long time, but I finally got a copy of it on vinyl.
Oh, Ace. Yeah, it's a great album.
It sounds amazing on vinyl. Like, I couldn't believe how good it sounded. I mean, Mike Klink produced it, but I knew it was going to sound good, but I was so happy that I found it.
Yeah, they were a great band. They were a really cool band.
Oh, they were cool. And I wish, if the times, I mean, they came out a little bit later, like 1992. Yeah. I mean, if maybe like 89, if they had come out and then had a little bit more of a run where they got a couple albums out, I think they could have done very well.
Yeah, I think they'd have been another like Warrant or something like that. They'd have been that kind of level band, I think, if they'd come out a few years earlier. But
yeah, because they had the songs, right? Like, they had good songs. Like, when you think of Times Are Changing and Sister Sister, like, they weren't heavy, the heavier songs on the album, but they were catchy, and they appealed to the MTV audience.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. They had all those elements. Skid Row. They had some.
Yeah.
There was some Poison. There was
Van
Warrant
Halen,
in there,
some Van
in
Halen,
there.
you know, like
Yeah, man.
it was all there.
Yeah, they
so
were great.
yeah, and I mean, you actually had that on vinyl when it came out, which I think is even cooler.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all scratched to hell nowadays.
Is it? Mine was
Yeah,
mine.
unfortunately, yeah.
Mine was in really good shape. The whole copy that I got is in really amazing shape. So I was so happy.
Oh, that's good.
But I just bought the Heaven's Edge album, the first one off of like I got it off my guy. And I was disappointed.
Well.
That's a good one, yeah. But it wasn't in as good a shape as it probably should have been. It's got a little bit of fuzz on it when you listen to. You can hear the crackle, which, I mean, it's kind of good, but I would have preferred it being mint. But when you get these things that are 30 years old, you're like,
Yeah, well, that's it. They're not. You know, it's not like they were released yesterday. You know, they've been around for a while.
I know,
So,
it's amazing,
yeah.
and the market for this stuff has just gone through the roof of how
yeah,
of the values now, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
It has.
So hopefully in 30 years, this album on vinyl will be worth that much money too,
Yeah, I hope so, mate. That'd
Right?
be good.
right?
That'd be good.
So running back to your heart. Again, as I said, I love how you always present a song vocally. Your phrasings, I love those as well. And you always let a vocal breathe. So you get it out and you can understand what you're saying, and it comes across so well. I guess you could say calculated, more or less.
Yeah.
I mean, you work on that obviously as a songwriter, as a singer. Is this a song of realizing you're better off going back? Is that kind of the premise, or?
It's kind of this one was the first two songs written for this album were "Live Like You Mean It" and this one. And this one was, I really like this one because this almost sounds like it could have come off our first album. You know, it just has, it has such a, it's one of the more kind of AOR type songs. And it just sounds, it just reminded me of you know, something that could have come off the debut. And so again, with this one, I came up with the actual, the kind of the, there is kind of like a riff on the chorus. And it came up with that first, and then came up with the running back to your heart melody. And I was like, oh, that sounds really, really sweet, you know, very sticky sweet. And I just went to town with it, really. And it's kind of lyrically is actually about being in, I mean, obviously it's not the marriage I'm in, I hasten to add, but years ago, we've all been in one of those relationships where you're with someone that you know is no good for you at all, but you just keep going back and you keep making the same mistake. And you keep, you know, why do I know that this girl is no good for me, but you know, there's something about her that keeps drawing me back to her. So that's kind of what the song's about. And I think everybody's had one of those sort of relationships, you know. Eventually you get wise and kind of and realize, you know, you'd be better off maybe not being with that person. But that's kind of the sentiment of the song. But yeah, I really like this one. I think it's so melodic, and it's like a really classic sounding Midnite City song. You know, I think it really sums up what we do, you know, best, really.
I love the fact that you guys have a sound, your own sound. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like 80s stuff, but it's you when you hear it, you know what band it is.
Yeah, it's great, man. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think so too. I think we have our own sound, and I mean, I don't think we really sound like anybody at all. I mean, there's no bands in the UK that sound like us at all. We are literally the only band in the UK doing this. But even like around the world, I don't, you know, I hear, you know, a lot of bands are doing the 80s rock thing, but I don't think we sound anything like them, or they sound anything like us. You know, I think we do have our own sound, really.
And I mean, that's why this music can go on forever. right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, because it's a different take. It's like, okay, this is the formula we're working at, but it doesn't sound like Poison, and it doesn't sound like Motley Crue. This is us. This is our version of melodic hard rock, right? Of heavy hard rock, right? So now, Lethal Dose of Love. As I read that, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, do you sometimes come up with titles of songs before you actually write the song? Because that's a great title. That's a great title, right?
Yeah, I do. I actually have just on my phone, if I'm just sort of, my phone's always full of kind of like ideas and stuff, even if it's just, you know, I could be out and about, you know, having a walk or whatever, and the melody will, you know, I'll sing it into the phone or whatever. And then sometimes a song title will come to me. So I've got a list. I've got actually a folder in my phone of song titles that are just even album titles, stuff like that. Things that I just think sound really cool. And I don't know where that title came from, but I just thought it's so cheesy, but it's so.
It's catchy.
It's a great song title.
Yeah.
You know, and as soon as I came up with the title, it's almost like I could hear the melody of the Lethal Dose of Love. And I'm like, I can almost hear it already, you know, before I hadn't even picked up a guitar. I can almost kind of hear that melody of where it was going to go. And then came back home and started writing the riff and I love that one because that one's kind of, you have your classic Midnite City sounding songs, like I said, Running Back to Your Heart is one of them. You know, you have the ballads, you have the more kind of pop metal songs. And I think it's good every now and then, like on Live Like You Mean It, to have a bit more attitude and have a little bit slower, show a slightly sleazier side to the band. And I think this one is one of those songs. And, you know, lyrically, I mean, obviously with a song title like Lethal Dose of Love, obviously I'm not going to be reinventing the wheel or with the lyrics to this one. You know, there's no big, deep meaning to this one. But it's just such a cool song. And it's a real, on our tour that we just finished about a week and a half ago. I mean, this one's like such a favorite. Like the crowd is just going nuts. And again, you talk about the gang vocals. There's a hell of a lot of gang vocals on this one as well. So yeah, it's a very cool song.
I have that in my notes. I had that in my notes. I just didn't mention it. Yeah, because it's got those awesome gang vocals. Now Archer's song, which is 1 minute and 7 seconds. I believe roughly around their instrumental. Who is Archer?
Right. Well, that's Sean, our keyboard player's little son. He's got a little boy who's I think he's about 2 now. And that was actually an interesting thing because the album was written, and I think we were pretty much almost coming towards the end of recording it, or it's certainly halfway through it. And Sean sent me that piece of music, and he said, "What do you think of this?" And I said, "It's amazing. I love it." But like, you know, it's obviously got kind of a ballad theme, and you know, it's a 10-track album, and we've already got 2 ballads on it. You know what I mean? So there's, you know, we can't. Because I think he wanted to send it to me, because we did actually have, I mean, I do all the writing, but on the last album, Sean and I he had an idea and we did a co-write on one of the songs on the last album. So I think he was kind of sending me the idea with the idea of me, you know, writing a song around it. But I was just like, we can't have 3 ballads on the album, you know. So I said, you know what, why don't we just put it as a cool piece of music, you know? And I thought back to all those albums, you know, those albums that we talked about, whether that be, you know, I remember the band Soraya.
Yep.
They had a
Love Is Taking Its Toll. Yeah.
Yeah. On their album, they had a 1 minute, just this beautiful piano part that just was just this little standalone piece, and then it went into the next song. And I remember on kind of Danger Danger Screw It, you'd have a couple of like little
like Ginger
bits.
Snaps and right, like
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of bands did that back in the day. They don't do it nowadays. So I said, well, why don't we just do that? It's such a good piece of music, and we don't want to waste it because but it was just more a case of putting it in the right place. So I said, well, it sounded great before, the really big ballad on the album. So we put it there, and then it just worked perfectly. So yeah,
it's cool.
It's a really good, really nice piece of music, and I'm glad we put it on the album.
Yeah. Now the song after that is Seeing is Believing. I love the soft chords in the intro. They move really well. It kind of sways almost. This sounds like a song of failed relationship almost. The chorus is brilliant. What was your thinking in regards to writing this one?
Yeah. I think it was written about that, and it was also written about something that I was going through at the time. And again, it's about really more than anything, kind of not losing faith in things, that you believe in. It's very easy, again, going back to the thing of how the world is nowadays, it's very easy to let that get the better of you. And, and I think, so it's just about, if you really believe in something, just keep doing what you're doing, and don't lose faith. So it's actually a really positive message. And again, it's another, a really, really, it's one of our biggest ballads, I think. It's just a huge sounding ballad. And it's a little bit darker as well. I think obviously the first, the ballad on side one is a little bit more pop. This one's a little bit darker, a little bit more serious. And we also shot a video for this one. That was the last single we released. So the video is suitably kind of like moody and well shot, and there's a lot of shadows, and it looks really cool. And this is I think personally it's probably my favorite song on the album.
I'll have to check. I have to check those videos out now.
They're good, man. They're cool videos. I want to see them.
I do. So No One Wins, again, cool. Another relationship issue or life in general?
Relationship, yeah. That's about someone that I knew who was just in a very like toxic relationship, and just kind of watching from a distance all the mind games going back and forth. And just, no one wins, you don't win, he doesn't win, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. So it was just kind of me observing, which I do quite a lot, like I said, nowadays, because luckily I don't have any problems, of my own to speak about. So I just write about other people.
That was what I was alluding to earlier, because I know your situation, and I'm like, that's why I asked, how do you find that inspiration to write these types of songs? Because sometimes if you're not feeling that way, it has to come from somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And I had to. I mean, the first couple of albums were written completely about the very autobiographical.
Right.
Those songs. They were about me and my, relationships that I was in. But as time went on, I have to find other things to write about, and observing other people is always very, it's quite amusing, writing down little notes about them and stuff, and sometimes you can come up with some really good songs.
Yeah, and I mean, I attribute that almost when you think of Guns N' Roses. On Appetite for Destruction, here's this street band writing songs about living in LA and living on the streets. And then you fast forward to 1991, and the whole trajectory of their career has changed. So how do you still write songs based on living on the streets and having no money?
Yeah.
Right?
You have to think of other avenues to go down. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, if people ever wonder why Guns N' Roses drastically changed so much with the content being so different, I mean, that's a great example as to why, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So hang on till tomorrow. I mean, I kind of tell my son that all the time as a joke. I said, wait till tomorrow, or hang on till tomorrow. I'll tell you then. I think it's kind of a phrase that we kind of use on a regular basis. Kind of tell me about that one. Was this another one that you had a title for before you wrote the song?
No, this one wasn't. This was actually quite a serious song, and definitely the most. I don't try and get too deep, too serious, with my lyrics, because I've always been a kind of firm believer that music is supposed to be uplifting, be an escape, and like it was for me and you when we were growing up. If you're having whatever's going on in your life, you put your favorite album on, you feel better.
Well, that's probably why we didn't understand Seattle, right? Because they're singing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I don't get this angst, right?
Yeah, me neither. But every now and then something comes along that that needs to be written about, and it was actually about a close family member of mine who was in a very, very, very dark place, and was actually contemplating not being here anymore. And it was, thankfully, this person is doing a lot better and is still with us, but it's something I just had to write about, and the lyrics are actually, I think the lyrics on that, it's not my favorite song on the album, but the lyrics are probably my favorite, because there's, if you actually read them, it's basically almost like a letter to the person that I'm speaking to, and a lot of people out there are having, with mental health problems nowadays, it just seem to be, through the roof, and it's important just to keep talking to people. If people are having problems, know that there's someone there to talk to, and they're not on their own, and hang on till tomorrow, which is kind of like the whole message of the song, is of the way that you're feeling now is not the way that you'll be feeling 6 months from now. You just in that moment that you don't want to be here or whatever, that things change, and it's even more prevalent, because with the recent passing of Ace Fincham from Tiger Tales, that was, so this song kind of means even more now, because it's just, it is, about just hanging on, and, even if it's a very dim light at the end of the tunnel, things usually do get better if you work through them. So that's quite a serious message on an otherwise very kind of happy, fun record,
Well, sometimes you have to have those, though, especially for what that message means. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. So I hope a few people have picked up on it and have kind of said, those lyrics they're quite deep, aren't they? And I was like, yeah, because they're written, like I said, almost like a letter to that person to say, hang on, thing you'll get through this and you'll be okay.
Now, when the summer ends, I mean, I'm not going to lie. In Canada, we hate it when we don't like those words. But I'm just kidding. I mean, for a song title, it's great. And I always, at the end of the summer, you're always here in Canada because our weather fluctuates, right? We've got, like I said, we've got tons of snow and it's freezing cold. And then in the summertime, we're like over 30 degrees and sunny and beautiful, right? So when the summer ends, it's a little bit disappointing. But this song's it's got that 80s keyboard intro, song drives through. Is this... kind of give me the premise of that? Is this like a summer fling, or maybe more metaphoric?
Yeah, it's kind of metaphoric, really. It's hilarious you were saying about when the summer ending for you guys, because the summer never really begins in England.
Yes.
We don't really have any summer. But that was one of those songs that I actually came up with the song title first, and I thought, this is a really cool title. It just evokes nice feelings, and it's kind of a little bit like I was listening to you mentioned earlier on Never Say Goodbye, Bon Jovi. Yeah. It has that kind of vibe lyrically. It's almost kind of like a young person's outlook. You know, it's kind of how I would have thought about someone when I was sort of 17, 18 years old, you know, when everything's new and exciting, and you know, just in a way that Never Say Goodbye has that kind of
those lyrics.
Beautiful.
Never Say Goodbye lyrics are so prolific. So, you know, when we do that song, you know, there's a story to be told before we do it, because, you know, we talk about being, our singer talks about being 17 and driving around in your buddy's Chevette or whatever, you know, like little car that you could afford, and having a tape deck and listening to Bon Jovi or Motley Crue or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that was the whole idea behind that song, was to kind of try and capture that sort of sentiment. And it was just such a fun song, such a happy song. I remember someone told me the other day that this was like, that it's got to be the happiest song I've ever heard in my life.
That's awesome. That's a good.
And we when you get around to watching the videos, just watch a video for this, because we had so much fun. It was just so much energy. So much positive energy. It's one of those songs, I think it's like, it's impossible to listen to that song and not have a big smile on your face, you know. And it was also, again, going right back to the beginning, when I wrote Live Like You Mean It, I instantly, the album opener, and then as soon as I wrote When the Summer Ends, I
was
knew
your closer.
that was the Wylde in the Streets of the album, shall we say.
Awesome. Well,
so, yeah.
Well, that is, I mean, that's the duration of the album. But we're talking of this Bon Jovi stuff, and last year you released a cover of "I Die for You," which sounds amazing. Which is it's probably my favorite Bon Jovi song ever, to be honest with you. I've always loved that one, and I've always loved playing it. We don't do it anymore, but the guitar solo is one of my favorite Ritchie guitar solos as well to play, because I just like how it moves. How come you decided to do that song?
It's my favorite as well.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
That's why. Yeah, we got the rights back to our third album, Itch You Can't Scratch, from our old label, and so we basically reissued the album ourselves, just for, you know, to sell at shows and stuff like that. So we decided to put the Japanese bonus track on it, and we said, you know, we probably need another track. So, and we'd never recorded a cover. You know, we don't you know, we don't play covers or anything like that in the band. So I said, well, it might be quite cool to record a cover version of something, and Bon Jovi was just kind of, Danger was a bit too obvious, sort of, because everybody compares to them anyway. So I said, well, maybe something a little bit more mainstream but a cool song, you know. So it was another song I think I might have talked about doing, was In and Out of Love, which was another, you know, great.
That's
song.
one of my favorites as well, but I Die for You, because I love the way the chords flow, like the way they move in the chorus, and it's the intro, and I think that song is so well put together, and I think it should have been a single, if you ask me, but
yeah,
who am I to say, right?
That was great, but then I suggested I Die for You, and we kind of figured that for us it was the one that kind of really suited. You know, there's loads of keyboards on it, obviously, and so we just, you know, spent a day just knocking the song out, and it turned out great. It was,
sounds great.
People really liked our version of it, which was cool, because you never know, you know, especially when you're covering a really big band, you know, you never know whether people are going to be like, you know, what they're going to say. But, you know, most people really enjoyed it. I thought we did a good version. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like, I mean, that's a song that Midnite City, I mean, you with the keyboards and the way that song flows, it's not like you know, it would be unexpected if you say you did something like Dry County or something like that, you know, like that would be,
Yeah.
it'd be like, well, it's a great song, but I can't see these guys doing that song, where this one really suit how, you know, your music is. I just wanted to ask, so the first two albums were on one label, and then the third one was on a different label, and now you're on another label? Is that how? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we the first two came out on AOR Heaven, which was a German label.
Yeah.
And then the third one was a UK label called Roulette Media, and now we're back on the German label again now, called Pride and Joy.
Okay. Because I've seemed to recall that when the third album, when Itch You Can't Scratch came out, there was talk that you were going to they may re-release the first two albums. I think we had discussed, and
yeah, the good news is that our current label have re-released the first two albums.
Okay, just on CD though.
Vinyl too.
Oh,
yeah. So they came out.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so the album, a new album came out in November, and the reissues, I think they came out in October. So it's the first album, the second album. They've both got bonus tracks on them.
Cool.
And for the first time ever, obviously the new album's out on like neon yellow vinyl, but they've also done the first two albums. So the first album's on purple vinyl, the second album's on pink vinyl, and they look incredible. They look so
awesome.
cool.
Where do I find those?
You just go. We do actually have some. We've got some ourselves, but I'll send you a link.
Okay.
You just go to the Pride and Joy website, and you can actually buy them in like a bundle. So you can buy all three, or you can buy, you know, there's various different bundles where you can mix and match which albums you want. But they look so cool, man. They look really, really cool.
That's amazing. You know, Crawling in the Dirt is still one of my favorite songs ever.
Oh, great.
I love that song. Like when I go to the gym and whatnot, it's like one of those songs that gets me.
Oh yeah, it's
energy,
it's one
right?
of our heavier ones, right? So
yeah. It's so well formulated. It's such a great song.
Thank you.
But I mean, there's the more. I mean, I've listened to the album quite a bit, but I mean, these songs, I'm sure some of them are going to be in that category of being, you know, these favorites for me as well. It's just that song. When did that come out? Was that 2022, 21?
2021.
2021. Yeah. So, I mean, that's, you know, we're looking at 5 years already.
Yeah, 5 years ago, yeah.
That's crazy. And that vinyl, when I ordered that vinyl, it took forever to come. Yeah,
we had a lot of issues with the reason that we left that label. We had so many issues. And we were getting a lot of hassle, and it was nothing to do with us. It was all the record label's fault. But so yeah, that's why we only stayed with them for one album, and then the label that we're with now are absolutely fantastic. They're great.
Like
so
with this,
yeah, you won't have any issues with them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was really chuffed, you know, because like I wasn't expecting. They mentioned about doing the CD reissues, and then obviously we talked about vinyl for the new album. But when they offered to do the first two as well, it was really cool. So I mean, they wouldn't do that unless they really, you know, unless they really believe in the band, you know. So yeah. They've done a lot of really cool things for us. So a great label.
That's awesome. But In at the Deep End, was that released on vinyl? Because I remember I could only find it on CD.
Yeah, that's the only one now that's not on vinyl. So we are going to talk to our label, and hopefully later this year or at the latest next year, we're going to try and get that out on vinyl as well.
Cool.
And then we'll have the whole 5, because that's the only one that's left. You know, that isn't out on vinyl. So
now, do you have
hopefully next year?
Do you have them in your vinyls in your collection?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send you some pictures later on.
Yeah, cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure we can figure something out and get some vinyls out to you.
Okay, Rob, that'd be awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for joining me today, and thanks for running through the album. And hopefully the listeners are going to love it, and hopefully people that don't know the band will listen and we'll sell some more albums, and check it out. So, and some vinyls, right? So
absolutely, man. Yeah.
But before I let you
go, it's been great.
Yeah, it's always great. It's always great. I mean, it's been quite a while, but it's great to catch up. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
Well, like I said, once again, thanks for having me back. It's been great.
Absolutely.
I always enjoy talking to you, mate. We're cut from the same cloth, aren't we?
We are.
but honestly, just thanks for supporting the band and to everybody listening. And the main thing is just keep supporting what we're doing, because we're I think what we do, really well, and we've got a lot of albums to check out if you're new to the band, and we're going to be touring a lot this year as well. Unfortunately, nothing for the States this year, but we're going to be touring. We've got another tour coming up in the summer over here in the UK. We're going to be going out to Europe, doing some festivals and stuff. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some of you at some point on the road.
You know what? Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you again. And it was such a pleasure, Rob.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, make sure you send me a link and stuff. When it goes out and stuff.
I will. Yeah. It looks like I'm busy. I have a whole bunch of stuff lined up this week. It all came together today. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, great stuff, man. But yeah, thanks a lot as always, mate, and keep in touch.
Absolutely.
I'll send you some pictures and some links to the vinyl as well.
Okay, cool. I would appreciate that. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Okay, man. Take care.
All right, you take care, bud.
Okay, all the best.
Man.
See ya. Take care.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.